in a small town. The forest that surrounded it held a special place in the hearts of its inhabitants. The forest's mysterious beauty and the stories that dwelled within its depths enchanted everyone. But among all the tales, one held a special significance for young Sarah. Fairy stories. She had grown up on her father's enchanting tales of fairies, and they were her absolute favorite. Sarah's 10th birthday was approaching, and the theme for this year's party was going to be fairies. The whole town was abuzz with anticipation, for Sarah's parties were known to be legendary. Many children and adults claimed to have seen these lights and silhouettes of flying figures within them. Some began to believe that these figures were fairies. Others dismissed these events as mere dreams. Sarah grew increasingly disturbed by these peculiar happenings and considered canceling her party. Her closest friend, Lily, however, encouraged her to go on with it. Lily believed in the possibility that fairy tales could come to life, and she persuaded Sarah to continue with the party. When the birthday arrived, the townsfolk gathered at Sarah's home. The garden was adorned with fairy-themed decorations. The party began with a joyous atmosphere. Children wore fairy costumes, and fairy tales were being narrated in the party area. However, as the evening progressed, strange events began to intensify. Lights would flicker on and off, songs would abruptly cease, and party supplies mysteriously vanished. The guests began to believe that the fairies had come to the party to play and have fun. Sarah and Lily decided to use party materials to engage the fairies and make them happy, but their efforts only seemed to intensify the strange occurrences. In the late hours of the night, the townspeople began to believe that the fairy stories were real. Children and adults alike started to flee the party area as the fairies became increasingly interactive. The fairies had started to fly around the party and were enchanting the guests with their presence. Sarah and Lily, noticing that the rest of the townsfolk had fled, decided to make one final attempt to capture a fairy figure. However, facing the fairies was much more perilous than they had anticipated. A fairy figure appeared levitating in the air, and it wore a terrifying smile. It whispered, "Happy birthday, Sarah, but welcome to the world of the fairies." Sarah and Lily, noticing that the rest of the townsfolk had fled, decided to make one final attempt to capture a fairy figure. However, facing the fairies was much more perilous than they had anticipated. Sarah had indeed proven that fairy tales were real, but it was not a cause for celebration. The only thing that remained was the silence of the town. Sarah and Lily accepted that they had entered the world of the fairies, and that they would continue living within the silence that had enveloped their town. The town was never the same again. After that day, with the arrival of the fairies, the silence endured forever, and fairy tales became a reality for everyone. Sarah and Lily could never forget this strange and chilling experience, but they gave up hoping for the return of their town's liveliness. They and the townspeople accepted the fairies and the silence that came with them. Little Emily was born in the middle of April, a time when everyone eagerly anticipated birthdays. She loved feeling how much her family and friends cared for her each year. Her birthday parties held a special significance, but this year was going to be different. Emily was turning 10, which meant she was taking her first steps into the double-digit ages. Her family and friends wanted to throw her a fantastic birthday party. However, Emily's grandmother wanted to give her something special, a family heirloom. Her grandmother spoke to her about a tradition that had been passed down through generations in their town, the sacred birthday candles. These candles were specially crafted for the birthday person to be used every decade. Her grandmother said, "Emily, when you light these candles, your wish will come true on the day of her birthday party." Their house was adorned with decorations. The cake had 10 candles shining brightly, but the most special one was the sacred birthday candle. Emily wanted to blow it out to make a wish, but her grandmother reminded her of its significance. Emily went outside to light the candle, holding it in the darkness of the night. When the first flame was lit, glittering particles suddenly filled the air around her. Emily was enchanted. The glow around the candle seemed to open the doors to a time when wishes were granted. With the candle in hand, Emily made her wish, murmuring it quietly, and blew it out. Immediately, the glittering particles around her started to rise towards the sky. Carried by the wind, the night sky brightened, and the stars shone even brighter. Emily could feel that her wish had been granted. Throughout the party, there was an aura where it felt as if everyone's wishes were coming true. People were joyful, laughing, and the atmosphere was filled with excitement. Emily felt as though she had unintentionally granted wishes herself. By the end of the night, as the last of the candles had burned out, Emily and her friend shared their wishes and expressed their hopes for the future right then. Just like a fairy tale, every wish felt as though it had come true. At the end of her 10th birthday, with the loving congratulations from her family and friends, Emily fell asleep filled with contentment. The sacred birthday candles had truly gifted her a world where wishes could come true, and, perhaps most importantly, this special tradition had allowed people to instill hope and wishes in one another.